Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, I got a super fun and exciting episode for you guys today, and one that I was very excited to make. That is because I am reviewing the release today, Parking Garage Circuit DX. Maybe about a year ago, I did a review on the original game, where it was just basically 8 courses that took place in the US, but now in the DX version of the game, you're going to get 8 brand new courses in Europe. And when I said the initial review, I absolutely love this game. The drifting mechanic and kind of puzzling nature absolutely hooked me in. I 100% meant it, and in this expanded version of the game, it is just double the amount of a really good thing, and that means everyone's going to win. For you to far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. And just a fair bit of notification, the publisher of this Plan of Attack did send me an early review code, but I am under no obligation to say anything I don't want about the game, but I always like to let you know. But honestly, this is basically a love letter to Sega Saturn, along with something like Sega Rally and OutRun in the drifting mechanics. The entire point of Parking Garage Circuit DX in the original game is drifting to make sure that you get to the finish line before the timer goes over that bronze finish. There's going to be 8 brand new courses in this game, bringing the total up to 16, and trust me, getting to the 8th unlock is going to absolutely take hours upon hours, because some of these courses you absolutely have to race perfectly or else you're never going to be able to move on. But therein lies the fun of something like Parking Garage Circuit DX. You have to memorize every single turn, every single course, and you have to pay attention to all of your ghosts and even skid marks to understand what you did, where you've come from, what is working, what isn't working. And basically every single lap's going to be slightly different as well, because you'll see here I'm showing you one race from start to finish, and after we go through the first lap, suddenly these icicles, or stalactites, depending on how you want to look at it, start falling from the ceiling, so now you have to adjust your racing line. And I love that really frantic action in an arcade racing game where you have to read the situation and respond accordingly, because trust me, all of these cars operate exactly how you need them to. The drifting mechanics and physics in this game are absolutely tight. Once you learn a vehicle and understand how to get it around the course, if you don't progress to the next course, that's because you didn't have a clean line or you made a mistake here or there. As we move on to the next course here, this game gets successively harder. The first one's basically a gimme, and by the time you get to the A stage, which I'm not going to show you here, to preserve a little bit of the overall surprise, you're going to absolutely have to be perfect. You might have to take a course 15, 20, 50, maybe even 100 times, and then you're actually able to even progress to that final 8th stage. And if you actually want to get the gold medal here, you're going to have to get up very early and basically be perfection. But therein lies again a lot of the fun here. Repeated successive playthroughs of this game, trying to shave those seconds and even hundreds of seconds off to be able to best your own score. And the nice thing is it has an instantaneous reset. If you press up on the D-pad, the race will restart with no loading whatsoever. And speaking of loading, this is actually running in a browser of all places. The review code was sent for a site called Wavedash that I had never heard of before, and basically what that was is they said you're going to be playing the game in your browser locally, and I'm going to be entirely honest with you. I expected that to perform like pickled ass when I actually heard those words said out loud. I was very surprised that a publisher would send out a review code for a platform that ran in a browser. But somehow, I don't know what sort of magic they have going on in the background, but it actually ran perfectly fine, and I felt no latency in the controls whatsoever. And that is because it is running locally in the browser, but I'm highly assuming that this is going to be available for Steam when it releases as well. But I will confirm with the publisher and leave a comment in the description. And I would still probably buy it there, but I was actually surprised that that functioned in any way, shape, or form, let alone well enough for me to capture the footage and be successful in races. But successful I was, and that's because I love a drifting game, and this game has absolutely everything you need. Just like Mario Kart, you will see the back tires will start to grow yellow and then blue, and when you have that blue glow, you want to release the drift, and you're going to get a huge burst of speed. But you need to be careful, because once you get into the drift, you really can't adjust your racing lane all that much, or else you're going to go into the wall. And trust me, if you hit anything whatsoever and slow yourself down in this game, if you miss a checkpoint, just immediately restart the race, because there is no chance whatsoever you're going to succeed unless you actually want to just practice. And you're going to see here in the DX version of the game, which is out today, you're going to have all the US courses, which I already reviewed maybe a year ago, but you're going to have all of the different European ones as well, and you'll see there is an entire progression system, and there are going to be unlockable vehicles. I got relatively far into the game, and I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I love that they have the video game Esoterica color pink, and of course any car is going to go faster if you pick the right number for it. But a soundtrack sample time, 45 seconds, because the music's awesome, and I'll be right back with a lot more game. Definitely a fun soundtrack, and it works really well in the context of the game, and it kind of has that like late 90s, early 2000s ska vibe that was all a hit and rage back in the day. Now, I did check, and this is going to be coming to consoles as well as Steam in 2026, but as of today, it is just on that actual Wave Dash platform. But give it a go if you want to check this game out, because trust me, it worked every bit as well as I needed it to be able to capture this footage and to be able to review the game positively. Because in a game this fast-paced and this twitchy, in a good way when you're actually drifting around anything, if this platform or website fought me when I was actually trying to play it, and absolutely would be something that I would review terribly. You'll see there was even able to flip the car completely, but I should have restarted there, but it seemed like fun footage, so I figured I'd let it slide. And honestly, as you go through more of these courses, they are just going to get more and more complex. And the best part is, at least in some ways, they are inspired by real-world locations that are in Europe, the same way that we actually had Marina Tower in the original game, the parking garage spiral, as well as the apartment spiral on the riverfront in Chicago. So maybe some of these locations you're actually familiar with, and if you are, leave me a comment down below. If you're familiar with driving on top of them, you have a very weird life indeed. But these are the type of games I absolutely love. It is retro inspired, feels like a lost Sega Saturn game, but it's running at 60 frames per second in widescreen. But the build actually has multiple options. You can do 4x3 at 30 frames per second. You can do 16x9 at 30 frames per second. But honestly, for the responsiveness of the game, I want that 60 frame per second. And you can even go higher on the resolution, basically making it feel like more of a VGA monitor style 3D effects game from back in the day. I really appreciate that the developer here, Labor, gives you so many different options to kind of look at the game the way you want to look at it, play the game the way you want to play it, because there's also endurance races, and there's going to be a whole online component as well. But of course, I'm just taking a look at the single player experience here. And I will say, because this is kind of a retro vibe game, I love the retro look, and you'll see there, hit something definitely reset. It kind of looks like Sega Saturn if Sega Saturn was more powerful in the 3D department and didn't have a lot of the warping polygons and sort of stretching issues that it does. I just think that that is a really good place to have a mode of inspiration from, because the Sega Saturn always had a very distinct look, and considering it had games like Sega Rally, something like this one here, kind of actually just emulating that Saturn look and feel, really makes it feel like that long-lost game you wish actually came over to Sega Saturn. And I know the developer has no plans to do this, but if you're listening, just make a Sega Saturn version of the game, just for me, please. I'd really appreciate it. I'll probably send you a Christmas card at Christmas. But let's do one more soundtrack sample, because a lot of what makes Parking Garage Rally DX fun is the custom soundtrack you get with the game. Another 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with a few more courses, because trust me, you want to see more racing action. This one is that good.
Ready, set, go!
Really fun soundtrack sample if it is completely different than the first bit of music, and I do like the diversity. Now, if this location doesn't look familiar, they're calling it the Turin factory here in the game, but this is definitely the rooftop Fiat race course that was famously made in Turin, Italy, where they would test Fiats on top of the roof. And that makes me think, I believe Richard Hammond went there for an episode of Top Gear, so there should be a Richard Hammond mode in the game. Developers, if you're listening, trust me, it's going to be fun, where basically you can do nothing other than flip your vehicle in new and exciting ways. I don't know why I thought about that, just seemed like a fun idea. And there are a bunch of cheats in this game, you'll have to unlock them, and I'm not going to spoil them for you here, because I want you to actually find out where each and every one is and how you unlock it. But I think one of my favorite things here is you're going to see I'm going to restart the race because I did bump something, and then as Ready disappears, I should have had a boost. You have to wait for Ready to completely disappear, then hit the accelerator like it owes you money to be able to get that boost off the line, just like Mario Kart. When you get to later levels, the game's timing gets tighter. If you miss that boost, it's basically going to be an impossibility to be able to be successful. So definitely learn every single component of this game the boosts, the drifting, the vehicles, and also decide when you can actually get 2 different boosts around the same corner. Because I accidentally drifted in the wrong direction, but if you do it just right, you're able to actually drift, get your boost, release the drift, and then do it all over again in some of those longer turns, helping you out on your timer. Because you're not racing cars here. Of course, there's ghost data on the track, but you're just trying to beat a time. You have to be 3rd place or better to move on into the next course. And when you actually take on a course multiple times, you will see your own ghost there with your own best time. So if you see them 2-3 seconds ahead of you, you may as well just restart the race, because you have absolutely a snowball's chance in hell of actually winning it. And you'll see here, because this is a 4-lap race, the second lap's going to be on a completely different piece of driving terra firma. That way you're having even more fun and having more diversity in your actual racing. But Parking Garage Rally DX, absolutely just straight up one of the best games as far as drifting is concerned. When I reviewed the original game, I said it was a straight up 10 out of 10, maybe even gave it a higher grade because it did include an area in Chicago. And even though I don't really have any sort of relationship to any of these locations in real life, because I have been to Europe, I've never been to any of these parking garages, this game is just straight up still every bit as good as the original, and now you have 16 courses, not 8, and that definitely is good. So if you want to check this one out today, the link's in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.